Manx Radio's Update with Beth Espy.
Well, Fastamai, good evening. It is Tuesday, the 15th of October. Welcome to Update, a roundup of the main news here on the Isle of Man. And today, Tynwald has come back with a bang, and there's really only one story we're talking about. That's the resignation of the Health and Social Care Minister, Lawrie Hooper, followed very quickly with news that political member Joni Farragher was also quitting. So what does this all mean for healthcare on the Isle of Man, coming, as we know, just days after major cuts to health services were announced by Manx Care in a bid to reduce the projected overspend? A lot for you to digest this afternoon. As ever, if you'd like to get in touch, you can text 166 177 or email studio@manxradio.com. First, let's join Lewis for a roundup of today's main news headlines.
Fastamai, Ramsey MHK Lawrie Hooper has resigned as Minister for Health and Social Care. Announcing the move in Tynwald this afternoon, he accused the Chief Minister of leading healthcare on the island towards privatisation, something Alfred Cannon denies. In recent weeks, the now former Health and Social Care Minister has come under fire as Manx Care announced a series of service cuts to tackle a projected £16.8 million overspend. Douglas East MHK Joni Farragher simultaneously left her role as political member for the DHSC. Manx Care has thanked Mr Hooper for his support, wise guidance and challenge during the inception and early years of its development. Elsewhere, the Infrastructure Minister says due diligence is still ongoing into the energy company Kroger, which is seeking to extract gas from the Isle of Man's seabed. Kroger's application for a licence variation, which would enable it to begin drilling a vertical appraisal well ahead of completing a 3D seismic survey, remains pending. And Manxmen successfully berthed at the new Isle of Man ferry terminal in Liverpool today. The steam packet's flagship vessel is due to start passenger services between the island and Merseyside next month. In the latest international news, there are calls for regulation of the funeral sector in the UK after an inquiry found directors could work at home and keep bodies of dead people in their garages. The report highlights how the industry goes unchecked and anyone can set themselves up as a funeral director. A new investigation's been opened into allegations of abuse by Mohammed Al-Fayed. Police say they are looking into a complaint about a non-recent assault in Oxted in Surrey. And Taylor Swift's to release an Eras Tour book saying she wants to commemorate the memories she made. She says it'll contain her own personal reflections and more than 500 photos. Those are the headlines. I'll be back with the news at 6 o'clock.
Thanks very much indeed, Lewis. Now the weather brought to you by Manx Glass and Glazing. Cloudy but mainly dry with the risk of a few outbreaks of drizzle. This will be mainly over higher ground tonight. Fresh, locally strong southeast winds, maximum temperatures of around 14. But then a band of rain will arrive overnight and that will be quite heavy at times. It'll be overcast tomorrow, outbreaks of rain for much of the day. And again, that might be heavy at times. Light to moderate, mainly southerly winds and a top temperature of 16 Celsius. Sunset this evening will be at 6:20. Sunrise tomorrow morning, 7:49.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
Making life easier with Manx Mobility at the top of Summer Hill. Are you looking for a stair lift? Look no further with Which Magazine's #1 recommended stair lifts. Now provided by Manx Mobility. Access BDD stair lifts. Call us today on 200 680.
Carpetland, the carpet specialist with the island's best value carpets in stock, often fitted within a week. Furnitureland for 3-piece suites, dining and living room furniture, and a selection of amazing beds. Carpetland and Furnitureland, West Street, Ramsey.
Simply income protection from Kestrel Insurance, a choice of benefits. Simple underwriting and peace of mind with a regular income for up to 2 years if you're unable to work due to illness or injury. Kestrel Insurance is registered with the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Direct cremation is just that, an affordable and simple cremation without all the costs associated with a funeral service. Find out more by visiting directcremation.im or phone Direct Cremations on 478 422.
You're listening to Update here on Manx Radio. It's coming up to 5:05. Resignation is the only card I have left to play. Those were the parting words of the now former Health Minister Lawrie Hooper as he delivered his resignation speech to Tynwald this afternoon. Now, he said this and the Chief Minister's views on the future of the NHS are becoming increasingly diverged.
Honourable Members, 3 years ago I accepted the role of Minister of Health and Social Care in this administration, and it's been a privilege to serve in that capacity. I'm proud of all that's been accomplished in that time. Despite significant pressures, I believe that real and meaningful progress has been made to stabilise health and care services and improve the quality and safety of services on offer. Fixing our health service was always going to be a long and difficult journey, one that needs steadfast commitment and a long-term view. But sadly, this is not something I believe the Chief Minister is committed to. I have therefore just now tendered my resignation to the Chief Minister and will no longer serve in his government. I felt it appropriate to answer questions from honourable members this morning, as members deserved answers to their questions at this critical time, and I did not want to abdicate my responsibilities to this honourable court. Over recent weeks, it has become increasingly clear to me that the Chief Minister does not welcome my views and is not willing to listen to the views and evidence presented to him, and that his views and mine over the future of the National Health Service are becoming increasingly diverged. I'm now convinced that it is his ultimate aim to try and privatise our health service, and that is not something I'm able to support. I have made my position on this exceptionally clear to Council in recent weeks. Last week, Council were asked to reconfirm their commitment to a free at the point of use National Health Service, and they would not make this commitment. Council were also presented with the context and likely impacts on patients of the healthcare cuts the Chief Minister is publicly calling for, in the hope that having seen the potentially serious impacts that they would change course. Unfortunately, the high risk of patient harm that was clearly highlighted did not have any such effect. I cannot in good conscience continue to serve a Chief Minister who is set out to both publicly and privately undermine my ability to do the job that is required, to undermine the ability of the Department of Health and the Manx Care Board to operate effectively, and who refuses to accept responsibility for the consequences of these decisions. I'd hoped that it would not come to this, honourable members, but it has become clear that I am no longer able to effect change from within the Council of Ministers, and as I fundamentally disagree with the course of action that I believe has been decided upon, I have no option but to resign. I would like to take this final opportunity to thank all of those whose hard work has made such a difference over the last 3 years. Departmental members, officers and staff in the Department and Manx Care and the Board of Manx Care, and to apologise to the people of this island for not being able to change this government's course from within. Resigning is the only card I have left to play.
Some very strong words there from the now former Health Minister Lawrie Hooper as he delivered his resignation speech to Tynwald members just after lunch this afternoon. Here is how Chief Minister Alfred Cannon responded.
I'd like to start by thanking Lawrie Hooper for the commitment that he has made over the past 3 years and wish him well for the future. His resignation is unfortunate, but it is abundantly clear at this point that the difference between his ideology and the reality of the position that Manx Care finds itself in is a bridge too far for him. I know, Mr President, that last year's budget was a difficult day for many people and businesses, with the taxation increase for healthcare spending and government spending remaining dominated in many ways by healthcare. Last year, with the tax rise included, Manx Care received an additional £43 million in funding, conditional on its promise to stay within budget. It is clear that this will not be the case, and that once again healthcare spending looks to be many millions of pounds beyond its allocation. Whilst there have been years of commitments and actions, further strategic action is needed. This overspending is destabilising an already finely balanced government fiscal expenditure programme. It simply cannot go on, Mr President, without risking the stability of our public reserves. Departments, including health, must stick to their budgets, irrespective of whether they believe they are underfunded or not, and resolution in that respect is now needed for Manx Care. Mr President, those who are stuck on ideology when it comes to healthcare funding are out of touch with reality. We simply cannot afford a healthcare system that is unable to control its expenditure. I've heard the calls for more funding from taxation, but this will simply not solve the problem when we have a healthcare system that is unable to plan for and operate within budgets. More than that, it is clear that the capabilities of the organisation to undertake financial budgeting and planning and align that with clear outcomes is lacking. It is incredibly disappointing we are in this position, given the investment that has been made into healthcare over the past 3 years. Nevertheless, we must move to tackle this challenge. Honourable members, now is not the time for us to recognise that this situation cannot be addressed. We cannot stick our heads in the sand and hope that this will go away. Now is the time for all of us to work together, and I know that through direct action, thoughtful debate and a positive approach, we can find the answers that are needed.
That is the Chief Minister, Alfred Cannon, responding to Lawrie Hooper's resignation in Tynwald this afternoon. I'm joined in the studio now by John Moss. And John, I've been trying to think about whether or not we've ever been in a position that we can remember similar to this in recent times.
Well, Mr. Cannon has faced a difficult time in his 3 years, hasn't he? He's had a number of members who have stepped down, ministers who have stepped down. This is a high-profile position. It's probably one of the toughest positions in his cabinet. And now, Mr. Hooper, who, it has to be said, was a hard worker. He came back to the role, perhaps not totally willingly. It's a tough job, but he set to, and he gave it his best attention, and has been doing that. But one or two of these accusations that he's given about publicly and privately undermining me, was that happening? Was that actually happening? Was the Chief Minister doing that? And remember, the backdrop to this is that the public are listening to this. Now, they want to have confidence that the health service is there when they want it. Particularly if you're getting a bit long in the tooth, you want to go into hospital and get a few things sorted out, you want to be absolutely confident in the ability of the health service to be there. And if, as Mr. Hooper said, that it's going to cost humongous amounts of money to virtually keep the service as it is at the moment, that's not going to give the public a great deal of confidence. And remember, we're just 2 years away from a general election, which is coming up. The public resignation of this minister is not the message Alfred Cannon would have wanted to give. Remember, we had the government conference with this message of, well, there are problems, but we're in control. Not in control of his health minister, it seems, after today, with his claim that Mr. Cannon is heading towards privatisation. And that free at point is a principle that is not now sacrosanct. Well, if you listen to Mr. Cannon's response, it wasn't a total thumping of the table denial that no privatisation is nowhere near, we're not going to do anything. There's a sort of guarded approach to it, which we must wait and see what that develops into. There have been an impressive number of Mr. Cannon's team who've leapt off the ship in the last a few years. What happens now? Is because the members, basically, who will take on the role? The members will be looking to their own positions. They'll want to get re-elected in 2 years, or most of them will. One or two members have said they don't want to get re-elected, but the ones who do will be looking towards the electorate and wanting to appear as people who the electorate can have faith and confidence in. And if the whole electorate is looking at the health service and saying we don't have faith and confidence in it, that will spill over onto individual voting for individual members. So what happens then? Are we beginning to see, or are we going to see a split from these ministers and members distancing themselves from Mr. Cannon if Mr. Cannon cannot get control of his own cabinet?
There are so many questions to be answered, and I suppose the view has got to be, some people are going to see now health as the poison chalice. It can't be any other way, surely.
Well, let's just hear the events that led up to it, because obviously when he stood up and speak, it was a speech. I believe Mr. Cannon must have had some warning this was coming, because he had a speech to give. It wasn't just, oh, by the way, Alf, I'm resigning in 5 minutes. It may have been like that, I'm not sure. He may have written very quickly. But beforehand, apparently in the build-up of the 2 weeks, Mr. Hooper had his mind put in this direction that he was going to resign. Let's hear the details that he gave us.
Everything that's been going on the last few weeks, last few months, around funding, around costs, it has become more and more apparent to me that every time we've gone in and said, look, this is the reality, listen to the experts, that's just been disregarded, and the inevitable consequence of that is, well, you have to cut services, and we're not touching our tax system, so if you want more money, we're going to have to stop paying for it. And that's kind of where everyone's at. And it was for that reason I took a paper to council last week asking them, do you believe in free at the point of use? Yes or no? It's not that difficult a concept to understand. And they didn't want to make that commitment. They didn't want to say, yes, actually, that's quite important. We'll stick with that. It was very non-committal, and that itself was quite worrying. We were talking about potential cuts. You've heard it all this morning. The government's position is very clear. Max must come in on budget, and the reality of that means cuts to services, and the cuts that have been proposed so far are minuscule in comparison to the things that will need to be done in order to do what the Chief Minister is asking.
That phrase, obviously, which we'll be hearing, free of point of use, it's free, of course, to people who'll be using it if that's the system that's employed. But someone has got to pay for it. And the amount of money that Mr. Hooper mentioned there, the humongous amounts of money that will be required if everything that is here now stays here, is that feasible? Can the island actually afford it? The island is not looking as stable, not looking as strong as it has in the past, and that will worry a lot of people. Mr. Cannon obviously will want a degree of stability to present to voters as he approaches to these very crucial 2 years in his administration. But the waters ahead are choppy. They're not looking any smoother at the moment. He has to act quickly to bring stability back to his cabinet, back to his government, to persuade people who are listening to this and thinking, oh dear, what is going on? Look, have faith in me. We will turn this around. We will bring the ship home. You can have confidence in my administration.
And of course, Mr. Hooper's resignation was followed very quickly by the resignation of the political member Joni Farragher as well. So a lot to digest this afternoon.
Interestingly, Tanya, August Hansen is still staying, we understand.
We understand as
for
far
the moment,
as,
pro tem.
Yeah. We shall see what happens. It is a case, I think, of watch this space. That first interview with the former health minister is available to listen to in full as a Manx newscast. You can find that at manxradio.com. I should also say we asked Manx Care for their response. They have since published a response. The chair of Manx Care, Dr. Wendy Reid, and the chief executive, Teresa Cope, have thanked Mr. Hooper for his support. Their statement in full: Manx Care would like to express thanks to Minister Hooper for his support, wise guidance and challenge during the inception and early years of our development. We have valued his insight and clarity on many issues and wish him well for the future. Manx Care, they say, will continue to strive for the best quality health and care possible for the people of the Isle of Man while delivering value for money. We look forward to working with the new minister and the team. So we await news on who that new minister is going to be. John Moss, thank you very much indeed. Much more to come on this story in the coming days. Let's turn our attention to business and some other news now. And the Liverpool Arms, we're told, could become a pub once again. It's been empty since 2017, as Amy Griffiths reports.
Stuart Clegg Services, which bought the premises in Baldrine, has saved and restored all the original features. The residential accommodation upstairs has been modernised and soundproofed from the ground floor commercial area below. Expressions of interest have also been sought for a tenant for the area that was previously the pub. It's said to now be level access and, subject to planning, would either suit a hospitality pub or cafe once more, or a shop. In July last year, previous owners Heron and Brearley said it would never be a pub again because of its location and lack of disabled access. Plans had also been submitted to turn the building into 4 residential properties. Because of an excellent partnering with H&B, which meant work could be fast-tracked and undertaken over the spring and summertime. Both the upstairs accommodation and the commercial area downstairs can be made immediately available for potential tenants.
Amy Griffiths reporting. Just want to bring you the latest news on the Health Minister's situation. We have just had a statement from government to say the Chief Minister is taking over as Minister for Health and Social Care. Alfred Cannon has taken over the position following that resignation of Lawrie Hooper. He says, I want to thank Lawrie Hooper for his work while progress has been made following the establishment of Manx Care in 2021, and there is much to be proud of. There remains much to do. The statement goes on to say it is clear there are significant challenges around ensuring financial discipline and managing the growing demand for health and social care services. These are not easy matters to resolve, but we cannot, he says, continue on this course. Repeated overspending is destabilising the government's finely balanced fiscal position. Our immediate focus must be for the Department of Health and Social Care, Treasury and Manx Care to work together on delivering financial balance. Mr Cannon says, I will serve as Minister for Health and Social Care for a limited period to provide stability while considering options for the future political leadership of the department. So that statement released in the past couple of minutes. Let's turn our attention to the stock market report brought to us by Ramsey Crookall, who tell us that UK and European stocks were lower as investors monitored earnings and a sharp fall in oil prices. The US dollar was perched near its highest in more than 2 months against major currencies. That was spurred by wages. The Federal Reserve will proceed with modest rate cuts in the near term. Oil prices slid, though, as OPEC lowered its outlook for global oil demand growth this year and next year, and a media report that Israel is willing to strike Iranian military and not nuclear or oil targets. Gold prices held steady as the US dollar retained near 2-month highs, with markets caught between profit-taking and prospects for further rate cuts by the Federal Reserve. The commodities then, gold finished up 0.53% at $2,662. Brent off 1.73% at $73.64. At the close, the FTSE 100 was off 0.52% at 8,249. And a short time ago, the Dow Jones was off 0.2% at 42,977. And the Nasdaq was off 0.68% at 18,377.
I'm running late again. Do you know where I put my car keys?
In the fridge.
Where's my phone?
Under the dog basket.
Bye.
You haven't forgotten that we're seeing Ramsey Crookall later?
Oh, no, of course not. 5 p.m, is it?
2:45.
I'll be there.
Life is busy. That's why Ramsey Crookall's team takes time to help you make a mindful investment decision, considering all the options, giving you full control of your financial future. Less stress, more assurance.
Forgot to put my shoes on.
See how we can make your money work for you. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Well, all looks okay on the roads according to the latest police updates, but if you do spot anything when you're out and about, 166 177 or studio@manxradio.com. And the good news, all looks okay down at the airport and the steam packet this evening as well. As ever, for the full roundup of what's happening traffic and travel-wise, you can just go to our website and hit the Traffic and Travel Hub.
Ask how you can spread the cost interest-free at Quayside.
You're listening to Update here on Manx Radio. Just want to bring you some really sad news from Manx Radio's point of view today, and Manx Radio presenter Mike Buttle has died. He'd worked on radio for almost 25 years with his talents used in a variety of ways, and previously he was a DJ in Port Erin. That was during the 1970s and 80s. He passed away peacefully at Walton Hospital this morning. His interests in radio range from documentaries to live music shows.
Sensational 70s on Manx Radio with Mike Buttle.
And a very good afternoon to you. Nice to be back on the air on Manx Radio on a regular basis after an absence of about 17 years. Where did the time go?
I'm Mike Buttle, and this is the final part of my look at the Manx Electric Railway. Last week I got as far as Laxey and took the tram up to the top of Snaefell Mountain. This week I'm going to complete the journey to Ramsey. Along the way I'll discover an almost secret service of railway operations, revisit the fantastic Steam on the MER events of the 1990s with two of the people who took part, remember the landslip at Bulgan Bay that might have finished the railway. I'll take in the memories of enthusiast Richard Pryke and talk to Michael Starkey in Ramsey about unloading the post from the tram.
Uh-oh. Just so sad. That was Mike Buttle, who died this morning at Walton, and he just returned earlier this year to Manx Radio to take on that sensational 70s show. It was such a welcome return, just a fantastic presenter, and we will all miss him very, very much and pass on our deepest condolences to all Mike Buttle's family and friends. You're listening to Update here on Manx Radio. We'll turn our attention to sport in just a moment, but I just wanted to let you know about a memorial event that's taking place in the next hour to mark the final day of Baby Loss Awareness Week. Now, this annual week enables families to be able to come together and celebrate and remember babies and infants that have been lost due to numerous reasons. This event tonight is been organised by the Manx children's charity A Little Piece of Hope, and it's going to be on Douglas Promenade from 6:30pm opposite the Tower of Refuge. It is a wave of light, and it will also be live streamed on social media for anyone who is not able to attend. 24 minutes past 5. We're joined by sports editor Rob Pritchard now.
Faster mine. Starting with cycling, Isle of Man pro rider Lizzie Holden has extended her contract with UAE team ADQ for the 2025 season. The Manx competitor is just one of 4 over the weekend to have their contracts extended with the Women's World Tour team as the team's season came to an end in China. Well, Holden signs a new 1-year agreement along with Belarusian teammate Elena Amyalusik, whilst young Russian talent Elena Ivanchenko has put pen to paper on a 2-year contract. Well, speaking on the extension, Holden says she really appreciates that UAE Team ADQ have given her another chance, and hopefully she can repay their faith and get back to where she was before. Well, the 27-year-old has been with ADQ since 2023, and it's been at times a challenging 2024 in which she's overcome numerous setbacks, including being diagnosed with an Epstein-Barr infection back in February. In tennis, Isle of Man pro player Billy Harris has made a positive start to this year's Shenzhen Open in China. The former Albany Lawn and Castletown Lawn player, who's now ranked 110th in the world ATP standings, has taken a 3-set round of 32 win over Thailand's Kasadit Samray 6-4, 6-7, 6-3. He'll now face Georgian Saba Pertsaladze in the last 16, with his opponent 316 places further down the ATP rankings currently. Well, earlier this month, Harris, who comes into this tournament as the third seed, reached the last 16 on the ATP Challenger Tour at Hangzhou, also in China, before being knocked out by American Mackenzie McDonald. And elsewhere, Manx Powerlifting secured another impressive Commonwealth Powerlifting Championships medal haul in 2024, matching their successes in the same event 2 years ago. Well, this year's competition in Sun City, South Africa, saw the 11-strong Ireland team take 21 medals, including 4 gold, 9 silver and 8 bronze. It's the exact same medal total the squad managed at the previous championships in New Zealand in 2022. Well, in an update on social media, Manx Powerlifting says a combined total of 4,122.5 kilograms was lifted in full power competition alone. The organisation its goals achieved and memories made, whilst thanking the athletes, coaches and sponsors for their work.
Thank you very much indeed, Rob. Now, just a reminder of our top story this evening. Lawrie Hooper, the Health and Social Care Minister, has resigned. We now know that for the short term, at least, the Chief Minister is going to take over as the head of that department. He says, I will serve as Minister for Health and Social Care for a limited period to provide stability while considering options for the future political leadership of the department. Now, as you can imagine, a lot of response to this to come in the next couple of days. We also know that Joni Farragher, who is a political member for the Department of Health, has also resigned this afternoon. We will have reaction from Joni Farragher and also more from that interview with Lawrie Hooper and the Chief Minister to come on breakfast tomorrow morning. We'll also be joined live by MHK Tim Glover, who raised questions about Manx Care in Tynwald this morning. Little did he know how quickly that landscape was going to change. If you want to keep up with the very latest, just go to manxradio.com. You can also follow us on social media as well and share your views with us. Thank you so much for your company tonight. Coming up next on Manx Radio, it's Music and Memories. Then it's Greatest Hits Live with Jason Moore from 6, The Folk Show from 9 with John Barker, and then Dave Moore will be with you from 10 p.m. with After Hours. As I say, a very full breakfast programme tomorrow as we consider what next after today's news revelation. So do join Ben Hartley live from 6. Until then, enjoy your evening, and Update will be back with you from 5 p.m. tomorrow.